Today is the day, and we are finally finishing up the dining room. I cannot wait to show you how it all turned out. If you missed the first two videos of this series, let me catch you up. We hung wallpaper, installed an ironstone plate wall collage. We hung the biggest thrift store mirror you can imagine. And let's see, what else did we do? Oh, I got a new rug. In this video, I'm gonna wrap up this whole project with two DIY projects. You're gonna love them both. Stick around to the very end so you don't miss the full reveal of this room refresh. Before we get to that, let's get to these two DIY projects, friend. Let's jump into the first DIY project that we have today. And it's not an official DIY, but it sort of is. This is a brand new chandelier that I fell in love with, and I especially loved the price. And it was ready to go for my electrician. I just didn't like the color. It was this faux antique brass that we saw back in the 80s. I didn't like the look of the so-called brass, so I decided to change it. The first step was to spray paint it black. So I got everything ready, covered all of the electrical parts. I hung it up out in my garage, and then I spray painted it flat black, including all the small pieces. Whew, let me get this thing off. Okay, if you're not able to give the brassy sections a complete solid coat of the black paint, don't worry about it. Really what we're trying to do is get some texture down and knock off that shiny. This flat black paint will give us the texture that we need for the next step. The surfaces are completely dry, and I brought them in to work on them at this point. I wanted to point out, when I said that I didn't get complete coverage of the black, you can see a little bit of the old gold showing through, but there's just enough roughness from the spray paint to give it some grip. So like this side, I got good coverage, but either way, it's going to work out just fine. So don't go for perfect coverage. You don't need to. We're going to use this gilding wax. The color is antique gold, and it comes in this little mini pot. Now you're probably familiar with Rub and Buff. It is great stuff. This is just the same. It's just a little bit more bang for your buck. The price per measurement, however, this is milliliters, whatever the measurement, is actually better. This is a better value. And this antique gold is my favorite color. This comes in all sorts of colors. I'm going to have these linked down in the description, but for this project, I'm using the antique gold. I just grabbed my paintbrush and I'm just dabbing a little bit on there. You won't need a lot. And then just like that, look at this. And it goes really far. You see that little bit that I dabbed on and how far kind of coverage I got. Look at that, how pretty that is. It's really pretty. So I'm going to cover all of these pieces with this in the same way. And by the way, I'm not going for perfect coverage. You'll see some of the black kind of showing through. I want that. It gives it a vintage look, and I like that. But anyway, I'm just gonna go across each one and get these pieces covered. The guys are coming this morning to patch all those areas where they removed those pot lights, and then of course move the fixture over off to the side. They will do the drywall and sanding on all that. Now I'll have to paint it, that's fine. I have the ceiling paint. Probably not gonna show that again when they were hanging that light. It's kind of weird to film other people. The drywall guy just left. Wow, he did an amazing job. You can see where those holes were. The spackling and all that's still drying, of course. It's gonna take some time. And I have to paint the ceiling, but that's part of it. I have a layer of dust, and he cleaned up most of it, but I told him I could get the rest. I mean, there's stuff like this here. You can see the dust. That's okay. Everything needed a good cleaning. And before I put all these chairs back into this space, I will dust them all off. I'll vacuum this rug again. It was covered in drywall cloths, not drywall, drop cloths. So nothing really got on the rug, but you know, I'm gonna vacuum it anyway and finish cleaning up the layer of dust with a quick mop around. And wow, that's not a task I could have ever done in 4 hours. Last night was one of those nights that an idea came to my mind and I didn't record it, but I'll show you what I did here. So you know, here in my dining room, I want a shelf under here. Well, so happened that one of my sisters gave me these brackets, and then this shelf, I'll turn it over here in a second and show you, was something that my husband made. Well, it'll make more sense when I turn it over, but before I turn it over, let me show you what I did. So I took these brackets and I glued them on. I used this glue. If you ever need to glue, I've glued all sorts of things with this. It sets up in 10 minutes and then you let it dry overnight, but it's this quick set, which is good. But before I glued the bracket onto this board, I attached these hangers on the back of each bracket. Let me show you. Here's the bracket, and the package that I have came with little nails, and I was able to attach that bracket. Now you're also going to notice, you can see here that it's offset just a bit to allow this bracket. I didn't want the bracket to stick out beyond the edge of the shelf, so I offset it a little bit, and then I'll be able to put anchors in the wall so that I can hang this shelf, because it's pretty heavy. I mean, it's good and stable, but you can see here, shelving bracket is hanging on really tight. Look at that, it's great. Here's the other side. So what I did was I roughly sanded the area on the shelf and on the bracket where I would apply the glue. I put glue on the shelf and on the bracket. I smoothed it out on both surfaces. Then I fixed it exactly where I wanted it, leaving this recess area here. Then I grabbed some painter's tape and I used a little bit of pressure just to hold it still. I let it sit there all night. This is the top side of the shelf, so I said I would explain what this was. This was a thin board that my husband, I think that he actually planed this down. He cut it himself, had this beautiful knot in it and this other beautiful area right here. And this thin board, this is only about an inch thick, it's not very thick. I laid that in the center of my dining room table for a long time and had pillar candles down the center of it. It was such a pretty look. I used it for centerpiece for a dining. I can't get my words out. It's super early in the morning. I wanted to put that board to use along with the brackets that my sister gave me. And let's see if I can hold this up. Look at that beautiful shelf that I have. There's my shelf. I don't know, what do you think? Is it too small? Maybe it's not long enough because of the width of the mirror. Am I second guessing myself too much? I don't know. I think it's a really pretty shelf. And obviously I'd have to only put little things on it, nothing big. I kind of like it. Let me know what you think down in the comments. We've put in the work and found the treasures, and now it's finally time to see it all come together. I'm so excited to show you the final result. Come on in and take a look. Thanks so much for following along for this series on my dining room refresh. I'd love to hear from you. Which part of this room is your favorite? The ironstone plate wall, the thrifted mirror, the shelf I made? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed watching, please subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcycling and home decor inspiration. I'll see you next time, friend. By the way, stay tuned for some fun bloopers at the end of this video. Today is the day. What are we doing? We're finally finishing up. And a bird. Get out of there. That was granola. What? An ironstone wall. If you did what? No, I don't like
of the entire room. But I'm so happy how it turned out. But first, let's get to those two projects.
So I don't have so many clippy whippies.